Editors at the Raleigh News and Observer label plans to expand North Carolina's Opportunity Scholarship Program a scam. But they're wrong. And here to explain why is Dr. Bob Luebke. He is Senior Fellow at the Center for Effective Education at the John Locke Foundation. And Bob, you read an editorial in the Raleigh News and Observer about the Opportunity Scholarships and said, no, these folks aren't on the right track here.
That's right, Mitch. Usually when somebody's taken this angle, it's based on two faulty assertions, and those are that choice is bad for the public schools, and that there's really no accountability in choice. And both of those assertions, when you look at closely, lack evidence.
One of the things you do early in a blog post about this issue at the Locker Room is say that one thing that's completely wrong is this idea that having opportunity scholarships or growth in choice takes away from the public schools. You look at the numbers and say spending on public schools has grown as choice has grown.
Yeah, that causes a lot of puzzlement when they say that choice is bad for the public schools. Choice is destroying the public schools. And you look at the evidence, and that's simply not the case. I think I mentioned that if you look back like over the last decade, state appropriations for public schools have gone up from 7.5 billion to about 9.9 billion. That's a significant increase. Also, we have to realize teacher pay has gone up from about 46,000 to 54,000. That's real. Those are real increases. And also, you have to also look at charter schools. Charter schools, which are public schools, are thriving. The enrollment in charter schools has ballooned to about 127,000 kids right now, kids who are getting good educations in a different type of public school. And how anyone can make the statement that lawmakers, pro-school choice lawmakers, are trying to dismantle and harm the public schools is simply without support.
You also compare the NNO's stance on school choice and the Opportunity Scholarship Program to some other ways in which the taxpayers are funding private options as opposed to public options, higher education and preschool.
Yes, what's really kind of gets lost from the discussion here is that if you look at the whole concept of choice in education, really the anomaly here is K-12 education. Because if you're a parent and you have a preschool child, you can use a public voucher to enroll your child in a private pre-K program. If you're a college student, you can use state monies or federal monies to enroll a child in a private educational institution with public money. The exception here in the education spectrum is K-12, where people think that simply should not be the case. And you find out that when that happens via, the Opportunity Scholarship Program, kids have wonderful educational opportunities. And the last 7-8 years of that program, there are many stories about opportunities like that have changed a family's life. And so if you look closely at the evidence, you just see that most of the assertions that the editors are trying to make simply don't hold water.
Another assertion you battle is that these opportunity scholarship programs and similar school choice programs benefit those who are well off. Looking at the numbers, you say that, hey, the Opportunity Scholarship, these are helping the families at the lowest end of the income scale.
Yeah, that's right. A 2019 study by North Carolina State University found that the adjusted median household income for actual renewal recipients was about $15,000 a year, and for new recipients was about $16,000. So that really contradicts strongly the assertion or the allegation that this money is all going to be going to people that don't need it at all.
Let's also talk about the accountability, because you get into that in your blog post as well. One of the Arguments against school choice is that if the money goes to these private schools, they aren't as accountable as the traditional public schools. You point out some ways in this blog post in which that's just not true.
Well, first of all, you got to recognize that there are different ways of looking at the concept of accountability. Usually when you have a state agency saying, well, you need to be accountable, they're usually only thinking about it in the terms of accountability from the state agency. Obviously, when we're talking about a program where parents choose, the real accountability here comes from parents in the sense that if they're not satisfied with something, they have the option to withdraw their children from an educational institution. And that's really important to look at. If you look at this program over time, if people are dissatisfied, it would show up in enrollment, would it not? You'd see variations. You'd see parents withdrawing kids from schools, etc. You'd see it. The dissatisfaction would simply be a buzz, around various schools. But that hasn't happened. I mean, in fact, about a year ago, a national choice organization had surveyed parents in North Carolina about their satisfaction with North Carolina school choice programs, and they found that about 80% of parents who had kids in those programs were very satisfied with the choice programs. You also have to realize that these institutions also have the same health, safety, and non-discrimination regulations that most other public schools have as well. So to say that there's no accountability is just simply not true.
You've already referenced parents who were surveyed who have kids in these choice programs. I want to have one more survey item for you to respond to, and that is the latest Civitas poll that asked parents asked voters whether parents should have the opportunity to decide where their kids go. Overwhelming support for that idea.
That's right, Mitch. You're referencing our latest school choice poll from January this year, and it's important to realize whenever we do those polls, we poll on the concept of choice as well as on the support or opposition to existing school choice programs. And this year, again, as it has been the case in years past, when asked, should parents have the opportunity to choose where their child attends school, I think that this year was 82% of parents supported that statement.
If you'd like to learn much more about this issue, you can go to the John Locke Foundation's blog, The Locker Room. The post is titled Case for Stopping Opportunity Scholarship Expansion Lacks Facts and Support. Its author is Dr. Bob Luebke, Senior Fellow at the Center for Effective Education at the John Locke Foundation. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mitch.